So in this video, I want to talk about an incredible new technology that will change our food forever. Hello and welcome to Planted Nutrition. My name is Luke, I'm a nutritionist, and in this video, we're talking about precision fermentation. You probably have no idea what that is, and it might sound like something completely alien. But this is a new technology that allows the creation of dairy products and other proteins without cows or animals. And instead it works by giving the genetic instructions of how to make these foods to special bacteria that are then fed nutrients, and they are able to produce whey, for example, casein for cheese, or egg protein, for example. And these products are absolutely identical to what we would get if we were buying them from a store that have come from an animal. And this process can be used to get basically exactly what a certain company needs for making certain products, like for cheese or for ice cream. And unlike cows and other animals, they don't produce greenhouse gases like methane. And some research has shown that it could reduce greenhouse gas emissions from dairy production, for example, by over 90%, which is a huge win for the environment. And obviously a huge win for animal welfare as well. And because it makes these products easier to produce, it could also really help with food insecurity and improving the nutritional intake in more vulnerable populations in poorer countries, for example. But it is important to mention as well, the inputs to this process come from other crops that are grown. So it is really important that we still focus on improving the sustainability of our farming systems, because they can also have a big impact on the environment. But this technology is absolutely fascinating, and right now it's still starting out, so it's kind of an expensive process. It uses a lot of complicated technology. But the thing is, as this technology matures, basically once it can scale up to meet demand, not only will it be much better for the environment, but it could also be much cheaper. So it could also make these foods much cheaper than what they currently are. But there's already companies, like a company in the US called Perfect Day, that are already selling this dairy, and you can buy ice cream that's made out of it. There's also companies that are selling vegan whey protein, and yes, it is technically vegan because it has nothing to do with animals, even though it's the exact same product as whey protein, which is really interesting. And I know this technology, it might sound crazy or scary, but it's actually been used for a really long time already. So for example, in the production of insulin, you might have heard of insulin. So it's really important for our bodies to be able to take glucose into our cells and use that for energy. And people with diabetes, they cannot produce insulin as well, or they might not be sensitive to insulin. So they might need to take in injections of insulin, especially if you have type 1 diabetes where your pancreas no longer produces it. And back in the day, it used to be kind of produced or extracted from cows and pigs, which was probably not the nicest process. It was also very expensive and difficult and very time consuming. But in the 1970s, this technology was developed, and they were actually able to program bacteria to be able to make insulin. And this made the process much more cheaper and easy. And it made insulin much more accessible to people who need it. So it literally has saved so many lives. And it's also used, if you've ever taken a multivitamin, for example, a lot of the vitamins that we take in supplements actually come from this process as well. And I mean, if you've ever eaten cheese, a lot of cheese uses rennet, which is the culture that is kind of used to create the cheese. And that is also produced by precision fermentation. So this technology has been used in our food system for quite a long time already. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out as it becomes more readily available and used. Personally, it's something that I'm really excited about, not necessarily to try these products myself. Like, I personally don't miss eating these products, but what I'm really excited about is that it's going to be a much more sustainable and ethical way to produce this food. It might also be possible to improve the nutritional profile of these foods, for example. So imagine we could have milk that is much higher in omega-3, this beneficial essential fat, and lower in saturated fat, for example. So it would be better for our health. And it's especially exciting because dairy is one of the most polluting industries in the world. Like, for example, in my country of New Zealand, if you're not from New Zealand, you might have an idea of it being clean green New Zealand, but actually the dairy industry is incredibly polluting. A lot of the rivers in New Zealand you can't even swim in because there is so much runoff from dairy farms. And just from a completely economic perspective, countries like New Zealand, where most of the economy relies around dairy, need to be really paying attention to this technology, because if it does become cheaper and more available, the big global companies that buy New Zealand dairy will start to use that instead, just because it's cheaper. They care about profit. So even from an economic perspective, we all need to be paying attention to this, because it could really cause huge economic trouble in countries like New Zealand. But anyway, is this something you've heard of? Let me know what you think below. Would you try cheese made from precision fermentation? Would you try ice cream or even vegan whey protein? I'd be interested to hear what you think. I find this super fascinating, and let me know if you'd like more videos about food technology and our food systems in the future. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and stay healthy, my friends. See you in the next one.